under one treaty all of the aspects of the European Union. It's going to, it's not without controversy. It's strengthening the role of the European Union, to be sure. It's strengthening it vis-a-vis the individual nation states, so it's giving some new powers. It's going to establish a 2.5-year permanent president of Europe that will have to be voted on soon, in probably the next month, by the heads of government and state in Europe. And it's going to finally solve Henry Kissinger's great dilemma of where do I call Europe? If I want Europe on the phone, who do I call? It's going to establish a foreign minister for Europe, or high representative. And so, you know, these are new things that are going to come out, new competencies for the European Union. I mean, it's a very interesting day in the history of the European Union. And I guess what I wanted to share today was just that the reason why the European Union is what it is today, and the reason why it's going the direction it's going, I think, fully owes to Germany. But all of Germany's past, all of Germany, you know, the many bad things about the German history, many of which we've talked about, and also reunification in Germany. And I think it goes without saying, you know, the experience of 2 world wars fought on the continent of Europe necessitates the vision for an ever closer union in Europe. But it's also this, what Professor Hoying talked about, this sort of looking back and looking back at the nation, looking back at what there is to be proud of, what Dr. Helmut Kohl said at a meeting with a commemoration of the wall over this weekend with Mikhail Gorbachev and George H.W. Bush, that Germans have little to be proud of in their history, but that unification is one of them. I would say Lisbon is one of them too. Germany has been a driving force, a locomotive, an engine, and a conscience for Europe. And I think looking forward, it in some ways is precisely because of the history of Germany and its complicated past and difficult dealings with coming to terms with its own history, that Germany can be such a conscience in calling for European identity. This is ultimately something that the European Union wants to move forward toward, a European identity. It's something that's difficult to craft. And as a political scientist, it's something that I feel very privileged to be sort of working and around right now doing stuff on this while this is happening, because these are truly fascinating events to be unfolding and see them unfold right before your eyes. So, but I'll go ahead and stop, because I know we've definitely got questions to go to. So.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Let's then move on to questions, and Steve will pose them.
I will.
Collected from the audience.
If we could pass in any cards that I haven't collected. And we have approximately half an hour. I'm going to consolidate some of these and maybe a lightning round or two. And maybe we could start off with one I saw one here that might be controversial. That Reagan didn't win the Peace Prize. What was that? Someone would like to get this into perspective. This is quite a happening. Could you compare this to other events in history that would? Could you compare this to other events in history to put this into perspective quickly? Ralph?
All right. Emma, would you like to address this here? I thought about that question a little bit yesterday, and of course what is fascinating, right, that this event happened without any force, violence, and so on. Beautiful. I wish all conflicts could be resolved this way. And there probably were other events in history that happened, but the tip of my tongue, I cannot think of one at the moment.
It depends, comes back to the question, what do you want to remember? If you want to remember that it is a world event, that is, meaning that most other parts of the world looked towards Germany, and for the first time in a long time positively look into it. Then you have other events in world history, most recently September 11th, where the whole world will stop, and we will remember that for the rest of our life. And you can ask most Americans, where and when and how do you remember when you heard the news that President Kennedy was assassinated? It's this kind of moment that you have and share collectively with different parts around the world, regardless where you're from. So there is, in other words, coming back to the person who asked that question, was truly an event where the world participated, not just Germans. Germans had the most reason to be happy that night, but it is something that all of a sudden highlighted so strongly that it reverberated throughout the world. So there is many people, many countries that will remember it. And something that hasn't come across so much in our discussions, how much this end of the Cold War that it signaled had a ripple effect. You mentioned it, cascading effect reaching to Africa. You know, you have to understand that since the division of Cold War was ended, all of a sudden those states that had the full support by the Soviet Union for whatever reasons, many reasons, all of a sudden, you know, didn't have that. There was no reason for it. It had effect in Africa. Just one example. So, in other words, long story short, it is a commemorative event on a world scale and far beyond Germany.
Other?
I would say also in terms of being sort of an origin, again with European Union stuff, oh, sorry, we know to speak. I think in terms of being sort of an origin for the movement toward an ever closer union, I remember Helmut Kohl's speech to the Bundestag on the occasion of signing Maastricht, when he refers to the preamble of the Grundgesetz. You know, the Grundgesetz was, the basic law was established to be a temporary constitution until such time as the German peoples would be reunited. And in that preamble, it says that Germany would become an equal partner to promote peace in Europe. And Kohl famously says that, you know, on the occasion of this signing of Maastricht, that Germany, that we're reminded that German unity and European unity are two sides of the same coin. I mean, in that sort of one fell swoop, he's laying out the agenda for Germany in the European Union going forward, which is to say that Germany is there to be, I think, to be sort of guiding toward European unity and peace. And to this day, and I won't tend to look at data and attitudes, when you ask Europeans what the European Union means, there are many, many cynical responses, but some of the most poignant responses come from Germans who say that it means peace, far more than most of the rest of Europe. I mean, it's a big divide. Germans look at the European Union, many of them as representing peace.
Could I throw in one that seems contentious? Why did Gorbachev receive the Nobel Peace Prize and not George H.W. Bush?
Well, I would like to try and answer to that. As I mentioned earlier, I think for the Soviet Union and for the person of Mikhail Gorbachev, there was a possible alternative to act in this regard. For the other, for the Western powers involved, well, maybe not all of them were happy with what was going on, especially France. They were pretty reluctant. Maybe they were not happy, but they had the idea of, well, in the end, the outcome would be positive, and the Western world would win out of this peaceful revolution and a united Germany. I think for the Soviet Union, it was completely different. For them, it meant well, the possibility of NATO troops right in front of